Coming up today, China expresses regret that Korea has hurt the trust between the two countries by pushing to deploy the U.S. THAAD missile defense system on Korean soil. Korea's defense, it was an inevitable move for national security. Violence continues in Germany as another explosion affects a dozen people near the country city of Nuremberg on Sunday, while it's still on edge after a deadly shooting rampage at a Munich mall on Friday. Despite a slump in global shares, Korea's market capitalization rose around 2% this year from the previous year, up a notch to place 14th among global markets. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 25th of July. In Seoul, you're tuned into our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Hwang Jie filling in for Mark Broom. We begin in Laos, where the ASEAN Regional Forum is taking place. Chinese Foreign Minister has made some very strong complaints about Seoul and Washington's decision to station the THAAD missile defense system in South Korea. South Korean Foreign Minister, in response, has explained why the U.S. missile system is vital to South Korea's national security. Our Kwon So-ah in Laos with more on the diplomatic tension.
China has come down hard on South Korea. On the sidelines of the security meetings being held in Laos this week, Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi told Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se that South Korea has put a dent in their relationship.
South Korea's recent behavior has inflicted harm on the long-standing basis of mutual trust.
Minister Wang said South Korea was the one who proposed the meeting and he agreed to it, saying that given their friendship, communication has to be maintained. He added that he wants to hear from the Korean side what actions it'll take to protect the relationship. This statement comes on the heels of the South Korea-U.S. decision to deploy the U.S. missile defense system THAAD to South Korea, to which China has expressed its opposition on numerous occasions, saying it harms their strategic and security interests. When reporters asked Minister Wang whether the THAAD issue had been discussed, he said, "Of course." Seoul's top diplomat said despite some difficulties between the two countries, their close relationship has been maintained based on the trust between the two governments and relationships in the private sector.
The closer bilateral ties get, there can be many challenges. Because of the deep foundation we have built, I don't think the challenges cannot be overcome.
According to a government official, Yoon explained to Wang the necessity of THAAD, saying it's the government's responsibility to protect the South Korean people. He was also said to have reassured Wang the system won't affect third countries in any way. While the ASEAN meetings are supposed to foster cooperation in the region and beyond, there are concerns that the remaining days in Laos could actually widen the gap in understanding between the two countries. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News, Vientiane.
South Korea is planning to set up a foundation specializing in North Korean human rights with an estimated annual budget of about $22 million. The Unification Ministry said Monday it is currently coordinating with the Finance Ministry on the details of the budget. The foundation, to be launched in September, will focus on investigating and analyzing human rights issues in North Korea, as well as providing humanitarian aid through NGOs. Whether the foundation will provide support for North Korean defectors who live in a third country has not yet been decided. The move to establish the foundation comes in anticipation of the long-pending North Korean Human Rights Act that will take effect on September 4th. Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Corporation has sealed a deal worth nearly $900 million to operate 4 nuclear reactors currently under construction in the United Arab Emirates through 2030. Under this deal announced on Monday, the state-run energy firm will send over 200 personnel every year to run 4 nuclear reactors developed with Korean technology, and Emirates Nuclear Energy Corporation, the firm's UAE counterpart, will bear the costs. The deal will cover not only wages, but also education, housing, and other costs for a total of nearly 3,000 workers. The UAE was initially set to operate the 4 reactors once completed by 2020, but decided to bring in Korean workers to better learn techniques and related skills. Construction of the 4 nuclear reactors began in July 2012. Now, there was mixed performance in the global stock market in the first half of this year, but Korea managed to fare relatively well, moving up a notch in its global market cap ranking. Kim Min-ji has more.
Despite uncertainties at home and abroad, Korean shares are faring better in comparison to that of other countries. According to the Korea Exchange, the country's market cap stood at $1.26 trillion as of the end of June, up 2.3% from the end of last year. Making up 1.9% of the global market cap, that puts Korea in 14th place, climbing one notch in just 6 months. During the same period, the global market cap fell 1.3% to $66.3 trillion. The New York Stock Exchange, which makes up the largest share of the world's market cap, edged up 5.2% on the back of signs of recovery in the U.S. economy. Brazil's stock market, which ranked 20th, saw its market cap rise over 35% thanks to a pickup in global oil prices and other commodities. But major economies in Asia and Europe saw their market shrink due to uncertainty stemming from Britain's decision to depart the European Union, as well as concerns about a possible U.S. rate hike. The Shanghai Stock Exchange shed 17%, while Hong Kong saw its market cap decline 6.7% and Japan's 4.3%. Jitters were also felt in Europe, being more directly exposed to Brexit, on top of seeing an overall economic slump on the continent. Germany's market cap fell more than 10%, while the UK also shed over 10%. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The managing director of the International Monetary Fund has highlighted the importance of structural reforms and trade liberalization amid the political uncertainty in the aftermath of the Brexit vote. Christine Lagarde made the statement on the last day of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in Chengdu, China on Sunday. Lagarde said that structural reforms are important to bolstering economic growth and sharing the benefits, as the reforms can lift both short and long-term growth. She added that further trade liberalization is also crucial to enhancing productivity and global growth. 2 more deadly events have been reported in Germany since Sunday, adding to the string of events that have disrupted Germany over the past week. Meanwhile, there are new developments in the investigation into the shooting rampage in Munich last Friday and the blast in Ansbach on Sunday. Hwang Ho-jun has the latest.
A 27-year-old Syrian asylum seeker killed himself and injured 12 others after setting off a bomb outside an open-air music festival in the city of Ansbach near Nuremberg on Sunday. The BBC reports, citing the Bavarian Interior Minister, that the man set off the blast after he was refused entry into the festival. It's the 3rd attack in the state of Bavaria in a week, following the shooting rampage in Munich on Friday and the axe attack on a train on Tuesday. It is also the 3rd major act of violence carried out by migrants in a week, after a 21-year-old Syrian migrant killed a woman with a machete in Reutlingen near Stuttgart on Sunday, which local authorities are investigating as a crime of passion.
After what just happened in Munich and today in Reutlingen, all the things you hear about, it's very disturbing when you know that such things can happen so close to you.
Meanwhile, the Munich police have arrested a 16-year-old Afghan friend of David Ali Stonboli, the 18-year-old German-Iranian gunman who killed 9 people at a Munich shopping center on Friday. According to a police statement, the 16-year-old has been detained on suspicion of being a possible tacit accomplice for knowing about the planned attack but failing to report it. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
The International Olympic Committee has announced that it won't completely ban Russian athletes from competing at the Rio Olympics, despite revelations of widespread doping. Instead, the IOC will leave it to the governing bodies for individual sports to decide whether to allow Russians to compete at the Games. Kim Mo-gyeon tells us more.
IOC President Thomas Bach says the organization has set a high bar for Russian athletes to fulfill if they want to compete in the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. He said that in this way, they have balanced, quote, the desire and need for collective responsibility versus the right to individual justice of every individual athlete.
Every human being is entitled to individual justice. There we have set the bar to the absolute limit for how Russian athletes can achieve to compete in Rio. All of them have to meet individually these number of very strict criteria we have established today.
The decision came after a 3-hour meeting of the IOC's executive board on Sunday, less than 2 weeks before the opening ceremony of the Rio Games set for August 5th. Bach said that Russian athletes competing in any of the 28 Summer Olympic sports must have a spotless drug testing record. He added that international sports federations will carry out an individual analysis of each athlete's anti-doping record and take into account only reliable international tests. In response to the IOC's announcement, Russian Sports Minister Vitaly Mutko said that he was very grateful. He also sought to reassure the public that the majority of the Russian national team will meet the criteria.
As for the International Olympic Committee decision, first of all, I'd like to say that in general, we're very grateful to the International Olympic Committee, to its executive committee, for today's decision of Russia's national team that was preparing to compete in Rio de Janeiro.
Russian athletes won 82 medals, 24 gold, 26 silver, and 32 bronze at the 2012 London Olympics, the third highest number of medals by any country competing at the Games. Kim Mo-gyan, Arirang News.
Over in the United States, the chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has announced she will resign in the wake of an email leak appearing to show DNC bias against Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The Florida Congresswoman's announcement on Sunday follows the release of a trove of 20,000 emails by WikiLeaks, suggesting that party officials actively worked to undermine the Sanders campaign. The revelation comes as the party attempts to build unity ahead of the national convention set for this week. Sanders, who has previously accused Wasserman Schultz and the DNC of sabotaging his campaign, said she made the right decision for the future of the party. Wasserman Schultz will still open and close the convention set to run from Monday to Thursday, and her resignation will take effect at the end. Audi Volkswagen Korea has appeared at a closed-door hearing held by Korea's Environment Ministry on Monday to explain its position on the government's push to suspend some of its car models. The government has been moving to enforce a sales ban on a total of 32 models from the group, saying documents were fabricated to win over certifications. The automaker's Korea office announced on Friday that starting today, it will voluntarily halt sales of the models under fire, including the Golf, Jetta TDI, Audi A6, and other diesel and gasoline vehicles. Within a week from the hearing, the government will decide whether to order a sales suspension, a move industry watchers say will likely be inevitable. If the certifications of certain cars are revoked, the German carmaker will not be able to sell those models until they are renewed. Japan has overtaken Korea as the preferred travel destination for independent Chinese travelers or those not traveling in tour groups. A study carried out by Bloomberg and a Chinese Tourism Research Institute found that over 913,000 individual Chinese travelers made the trip to Japan in the first quarter, or 24% more than the 730,000 that came to Korea. This means that the number of independent Chinese travelers to Japan has more than doubled within a year from the 450,000 last year, far behind Korea at 670,000. The main factors behind the shift are thought to be the depreciation of the Japanese currency and an easing of visa requirements for Chinese tourists. And that's all we have for now. Thank you, as always, for watching. I'm Hwang Jie. We will be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Goodbye.